These are some Dinar Guru updates, starting off with Militiaman. It says this article is from March 4th, 2023. It says, time to get back to the previous era. What are they talking about? What was the value of Iraq's dinar in the previous era? In 1987, the price of one dinar was $3.30. I'm not saying a date or rate, I'm just giving you an example of what they were like in a previous era. They told us the glory days, the previous era. Remember what al-Sudani said? He didn't say a time specific about when the dinar was going to be stronger than the dollar. He just said that it was, and he told his citizens to be careful. It's all coming full circle. Frank 26 says, we are waiting for this amendment to be completed for Article 12. Parliament will have to deal with the budget line by line, which will require exchange rate. 1310 mathematically will not work with all the major projects and contracts they have. We are very close to this budget exposing its guts. Every day we seem to be getting closer and closer to the reality of a new exchange rate with lower notes to match. All right, Fanulu says some people apparently have no idea how the oil business works. The originating price for oil is roughly $34 per barrel. Rest of the price is involved in brokers' fees, transportation, delivery, and holding. This is how the $34 base cost turns into $75, which is the current end cost of oil per barrel. Now, there is a dinar for oil program. China has international sanctions, and part of that was their exclusion from the Iraq dinar auctions. Therefore, they sought to acquire dinar from other sources like private dinar owners. They wanted to be able to buy Iraqi oil, so they started offering private owners an enticing price. They made contracts with private owners through intermediaries. That is contract rate, not $70.5 per dinar. The idea of $75 per dinar is not reality based. The UST put a halt to the contracting of dinar as of October 2011. Unless you have a pre-2011 contract, you will not get a contract rate from the mythical redemption centers. Sandy Ingram says there is a significant difference between Germany's recovery, which took 5 years after World War II, and Iraq's recovery, which we are still waiting on 20 years later. After World War II, Germany's currency faced a significant crisis. The war devastated the country's economy, leading to hyperinflation and collapse of the Reichsmark in 1948, 3 years after the war. The countries overseeing post-war Germany introduced a new currency, the Deutschmark. The Deutschmark. This new currency helped eliminate the black market and incentivize people to engage in legitimate economic activities. I have said so many words wrong today. Oh well. The currency reform is often credited with laying the groundwork for Germany's economic recovery during the 1950s. This transformation turned West Germany into one of the leading economies in Europe, demonstrating the critical role currency reform played in its post-war rebuilding. All right, Sandy Ingram, after the 2003 invasion of Iraq, the country's currency, the Iraqi dinar, underwent a major transformation. Before the invasion, the dinar had suffered from instability due to years of sanctions and economic mismanagement under Saddam Hussein's regime. Iraqis used U.S. dollars following the fall of Saddam's government. The Coalition Provisional Authority introduced a new version of the Iraqi dinar in 2003. The transition was smooth, with Iraqis exchanging their old dinars for new ones at a 1-to-1 ratio. While the new dinar did stabilize initially, the country's instability, corruption, and conflict have made it difficult for the currency to achieve long-term strength. Like post-war Germany, Iraq's currency reform was crucial, but Iraq's recovery has been slower due to persistent instability and economic dependence on oil. Sandy goes on to say Germany's currency. The mark became to significantly increase in value in 1948. However, the real boost to the mark's value and purchasing power came in the following decade during the 1950s as West Germany experienced the um, economic miracle. The marked strength was tied to West Germany's rapid industrial recovery, strong export performance, and prudent monetary policies. By the mid-1950s, the mark was considered one of the most stable, valuable currencies globally. However, there is something else that Germany did that Iraq has not accomplished. Germany disconnected from anything and everything concerning World War II or previous German leader. The German people showed a remarkable and consistent desire to assimilate with the world. Iraq has not shown this level of commitment as a whole. All right, Sandy Ingram goes on to say there is another major difference between Germany and Iraq's response to the war. Germany faced significant restrictions after World War II. The restrictions were part of the post-war agreements to ensure that Germany could not pose a military threat again. Its military forces were disbanded. The production of weapons and military equipment was prohibited. Germany was required to pay reparations. These reparations were paid in the form of goods, resources, forced labor. Initially, Germany's international trade was heavily restricted. The Marshall Plan provided financial aid to rebuild the economies of Western Europe, including West Germany, ultimately helped reintegrate Germany into the global economy. By the 1950s, many of the most restrictive economic measures on West Germany had been lifted, allowing for its remarkable economic recovery. The war ended in 1945, and by 1950 was well on its way to financial recovery. Now people all over the world are driving Mercedes-Benz. All right, Wolverine says President Trump has allegedly signed the executive order on cryptocurrency finance, which means we can now get started when banks open on Monday, January 27th, 2025. Get ready and buckle your seatbelts as we are about to go warp speed, according to Wolverine. All right, Sampson article quote, Iraq discovery of the largest oil reserve in the center of the country with 2 billion barrels. Quote, the Middle Oil Company, in cooperation with the Chinese company EBS, announced major oil discovery in East Baghdad. And lastly, Frank 26 says the new lower notes, in my opinion, will only work with a new exchange rate, not 1310. The dinars are the highest form of intel and highest form of security that there is on the planet Earth right now. The lower notes mostly highly guarded object and secret at this moment, and the CBI and Sudani cannot afford one small slip up, one tiny little leak, even the color. You don't want any information to be leaked out, even the shape of the new lower notes. All this must be kept tightly under wraps until the new exchange rate is finally released.